Today is from Paul's letter to the Colossians. As you've noticed the last few Sundays, we've been studying this letter because I discovered in reading it again, and I don't know how many times I've read it previously, but lots and lots of times, it seems to me that this letter is so very relevant, contemporary to the time in which we live. So listen to it as if Paul were standing here speaking to us right now. As you therefore have received Christ Jesus the Lord, continue to live your lives in Him, rooted and built up in Him, and established in the faith, just as you were taught, abounding in thanksgiving. See to it that no one takes you captive through vain philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of the universe, and not according to Christ. For in Him the whole fullness of deity dwells bodily, and you have come in fullness to Him, who is the head of every ruler and authority. In Him also you were circumcised with a spiritual circumcision, by putting off the body of the flesh in the circumcision of Christ. When you were buried with Him in baptism, you were also raised with Him through faith in the power of God, who raised Him from the dead. And when you were dead in trespasses and the uncircumcision of your flesh, God made you alive together with Him, when He forgave all of our trespasses, erasing the record that stood against us with its legal demands. He set this aside, nailing it to the cross. He disarmed the rulers and authorities and made a public example of them, triumphing over them in it. Therefore, do not let anyone condemn you in matters of food or drink or observing festivals or new moons or Sabbath. They are only a shadow of what is to come, but the substance belongs to Christ. Do not let anyone disqualify you, insisting on self-abasement and worship of angels, dwelling on visions, puffed up without cause by a human way of thinking, and not holding fast to the head, from whom the whole body, nourished and held together by its ligaments and sinews, grows with a growth that is from God. See to it that no one takes you captive through philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition. This is the word of God for us, the people of God. Thanks be to God. Let us pray. Lord, open our hearts and our minds that we may enjoy your word for us this day. And as we hear, let it plant seed that will grow and bear fruit in our hearts and our minds, in this church and beyond, now and forevermore. Amen. Toward the end of his life, the great atheist philosopher, Sir Anthony Flew, published many books and articles, gave a lot of lectures on atheism, volumes on atheism. Toward the end of his life, Anthony Flew became a believer in God. This is what he said among his last writings. I followed the evidence. He was a scientist. I followed the evidence and discovered there really is a God. And the proof is quite clear. But for most of his life, this brilliant man was deceived by vain philosophy and empty deceit. It is so easy to be deceived. Several years ago, a psychology class at Miami, the University of Miami in Florida, did an experiment in Orlando. They went out and set up, in Miami, they went out and set up tables, and they got people to sign a petition to ban dihydrogen monoxide. It's in everything. It's affecting everybody's life. It's killing people. People are dying from it all the time. In one day's time, they collected over 20,000 signatures in the city of Miami to ban water. That's what dihydrogen monoxide is. Water. So easy to fool people these days. Twist a few words, make it look different. As we saw in Sunday school this morning in the beginning of a new series on Twisted So Easy. But please understand, vain philosophy, empty deceit, is not a new idea. It's been around since the Garden of Eden. Satan specializes in it. He didn't hand Eve that fruit off the tree. He just pointed to it and talked about it. Deceive. It's such a problem in the day of the early church that Paul is warning the church about it. By the way, if you read his letters, all of his letters, you will find that somewhere in every one of those letters there's a warning about it. Does that not tell you how important it is for Paul, for the church then, and by extension to the church today? He's warning us. Don't let yourself be fooled, be deceived by vain philosophy, empty deceit. Don't get into that trap. And it's easy to do. You know, our world is everywhere. You can't get away from it. It's everywhere. It's in the media. It's in the academy, in the schools, universities. It's in conversations everywhere. It's in social media all over the place. And God help us, it's even in the church. So how do you and I, heeding Paul's admonition here, how do you and I keep from getting trapped, falling prey to it? What do we do? Well, let me suggest several things. First of all, as Paul reminds us here, keep God in the center of our lives instead of us. Keep God in the center instead of us. The minute we make that mistake of putting humans in the middle of our lives, we are already going down a path that leads to destruction. We have a group of clergy friends that meet for lunch, and we have all kinds of conversations among ourselves that we can talk about things. And we were having a conversation not too many months ago about human sexuality and how we feel about things and our perspectives on those. And I made the statement, our conversation around this subject ought to always begin with God. Because as Christians, our conversations are theological, God-centered. We made a mistake, I said, in the 1950s when we started shifting that conversation from God to individuals, to Him. One of my colleagues said, well, that's where we should always begin. And I said, no, not just theological. If we start with people, it's anthropological. We can have that conversation about human beings, what they need. We do that. Talk about, Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. We talk about all those things. No issue. But we're going to talk about what God wants. We have to start with God first. Keep God in the center. Otherwise, you and I fall prey to all the allurement Satan can throw out there. And remember, his way of deceiving us is incredible. I have a friend who's retired now, like I am, supposed to be, but I'm glad to be here. He, before he became a minister, he was in the United States Air Force. He was an intelligence officer, and he spoke and read fluently Chinese. During the Vietnam War, he translated messages. Well, when he flew into Vietnam, he told me this story. He said, when I flew in, I saw this field with round indentations in it. So when they picked me up and take me to where I was supposed to go, he said, I asked the lieutenant who was taking me, that's a minefield, isn't it? He said, no, it's a Buddhist graveyard. They buried their dead in a lotus position. He said, we went a little bit further. He said, here was this beautiful green field, verdant, begging for kids to come throw a frisbee or people to play with their dog or throw a blanket and have a picnic. He said, the lieutenant stopped the jeep and he said to me, Captain, there's your minefield. That's the way Satan works. He deceives us in the little things and the big things. He paints a picture that's hard not to want. But what Satan's trying to do is get us to get our eyes off of God and our eyes on us. And that's dangerous. Dangerous. There was a psychologist who was treating a man that had all kinds of issues. The psychologist quickly picked up on what the problem was. And so while the man was in his office one day, he asked him to bring his family, and he did, wife, children. He took a pocket mirror, one of those little pocket mirrors that you can use, to comb your hair, put on makeup, whatever. He told him, I said, hold this right in front of your eyes, please. The man said, okay. He said, what do you see? He said, I see myself. He brought one of his kids in front of me. He said, what do you see? He said, I see myself. He said, no. That's your problem. You can't see anything but you. You can't see your children. You can't see your wife. You can't see your co-workers. All about you. We talk about being in a narcissistic world. Why have we gotten there? Did it happen overnight? No. It happened because we began to move toward putting people in the center of our world, our perspective, our worldview, rather than God. Put God there first. And God will help us. He'll show us the truth. He'll show us the way. We wouldn't have all of the conflicts we have now if we could do that. Because God brings people together, even enemies. God can bring them together to the table where they can become friends, respect each other. Even if they don't agree. And we don't have to agree on everything. No words are written, we have to. I guarantee you that if you go back and look, you'll see that Paul and Peter didn't agree on everything. They had some knockdown, drag out arguments. But at the end of the day, they respected and loved each other. Those disciples didn't. The early church leaders didn't read their letters. But they learned how to respect each other. God. Keep God in the center. Secondly, we've got to focus on what God's will is. Now people say, how do you know God's will? Well, we can know God's will. Scripture teaches a whole lot of things. Tradition of the church teaches us a whole lot of things. Reason and experience teach us a whole lot of things. And when we put all of that together, we can get a pretty good picture of what the will of God is. The will of God is that we don't hurt people. We don't lie. We don't steal. We don't cheat. We don't knock people down. We don't call them names. We love everybody just as they are. But if you don't keep the focus on the will of God, you're going to find yourself drifting to the will of the latest trend, or the will of human desire, or the will of human perspective. Always dangerous. Did any of you happen to see the Kentucky Derby this year? Maximum Security, the horse that won that race, by the way, not the favorite, but she won the race, was disqualified because it bumped horses in the other lane. It got out of its lane. Lost its focus. Yeah, they got to stay focused on what they're doing in order to win that race legitimately. We have to stay focused on what God is calling us to do. Do you know we have a whole new industry in this world, in this country today? Think about industries that rise up, new things that happen. Well, we remember how the computer industry rose up and all these other things. We got a new one now. It's called fact-checking. This industry came to rise. It's a real industry. There are people, that's all they do is spend their days fact-checking what people say and do. Politicians, business leaders, academicians, professors, they do it all. There are websites set up where you can put anything in there. Is this true? One of the most popular, well-known ones is Snopes, but it's not the only one. There's a bunch more now. It's a whole industry. Why? Because we have seen and heard so many things in our world by people from the bottom to the top that's not true, or that is partially true. Remember what I told you before, and don't forget this. The real enemy of the truth is not a lie. That stands out. It's the half-truth. Take that piece and twist it. And fact checkers are supposed to tell us what is true and what's not. And many times you'll notice if you check things on Snopes, and I've done this, you'll see it says partially true. Somewhat true. Have you ever done that? You see how we do it? But if we focus on the will of God, what God's calling us to, we're not going to get caught in that trap. We'll avoid it. We will avoid it. Keep God in the center. Focus on God's will. Grow in discipleship. That's the most important thing. That's one of the reasons why I'm still preaching. I want people to grow in discipleship. That's why I teach the Bible. I want people to grow in discipleship. That's why I encourage people to pray, do devotions. We need to grow in discipleship and do missions. Missions helps us grow in discipleship. We're growing when we do this thing. When we're helping other people, helping children. We've got to grow. Unless we grow in discipleship, we remain elemental, and therefore it's easier for us to get fooled. Don't let anyone fool you, Paul said. Grow, he said. Be rooted. Well, when you root something, it grows. And you want it to grow. You don't want it to stay small. Barbara rooted some mosquito plants, citronella plants, and we'll watch them grow. You don't want it to stay this big forever. It won't get rid of the mosquitoes. When it gets up to be 1.5 feet high on the porch, we can sit out there and no mosquitoes bother us. We can't be effective disciples unless we grow in discipleship. Nobody wants to be 6 forever. It's a fun age, but it's time to grow and get better. Got to grow to get there. Nobody starts out being able to be a true professional. They have to learn and grow in that. We have to learn to grow in our discipleship as well. There was a church in a city a couple of years ago, actually happened. They couldn't figure out why they were having difficulty drawing people in. They had great stuff, great facilities, great worship service, everything. They went out and did everything they could to draw people in. Nothing was working. So the pastor hit on an idea. He thought he'd give it a try. He put an ad in the paper that they wanted all the people that would come, visitors to come to that church on a given Sunday. And guess what? We're going to give away a $1,000 door prize to one of the visitors. Regular members can't play in the game. Visitors, going to draw a door prize. They were all in expectation. They had all kinds of stuff ready, had a banquet for all the visitors to lure them in, everything. This is a church that was expecting 500 or 600 visitors this day. They had 30. And they decided, it doesn't work. You can't buy people. Discipleship is not a gimmick. It's about being committed and wanting to grow because we love God with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength. And we're willing then to surrender so we can grow. We're willing to make the efforts, an intentional effort to grow. I don't know if you've ever read John Bunyan's great classic work, Pilgrim's Progress. If you haven't, I hope you will. If you have, read it again. Read us this story that he captured for us, this pilgrim who stands for all Christians, who feels called from God to leave home and go toward God, grow in discipleship. And he talks about all the pitfalls. He makes some mistakes along the way, but gets back on the right path. Talks about the people that deviate from that and the destruction he sees and the pain. He paints a magnificent picture of how easy it is to get fooled. He uses a lot of interesting names in there. The people's names are names of attitudes. Vainglory, wise man, so forth. It's interesting to see how he does it. I think we need to stop and think again about the world we're living in and the path we're on and what's happening around us. We're losing generations. We're becoming more increasingly violent and fractured. And I see people that are so caught up in vain philosophies and empty deceit, they can't think straight about what is right and wrong, what is true and not true. And the church can't fall into that. Time for us to reorient ourselves and get back on the path. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except by me. And conversely, no one gets to the truth. No one gets where they need to be except by Him. Keep God in the center. Get us out of it. Focus on God's will. If you're not sure what God's will is, pray, study, think, talk, discuss, and discern the will of God. And remember the growth in discipleship. I can help you with that if you let me. But you got to want to do it. I'm not going to cramp it down your throat. I'm not going to beat you over the head. And you can't go buy a $15.95 book, a self-help book that's going to make you grow in discipleship. Read all of them you want to. I know people who are well read, but they've never grown in discipleship. It's a different thing. Well, Paul said, don't let anybody fool you. Don't be fooled. And I'm telling you that deceit, the vain philosophies, empty deceit, all around us, everywhere. I can't turn on anything without seeing it. I can't open the newspaper without seeing it. I can't have a conversation without hearing it in some form or the other. And you can't. The question is, are we going to follow the God-given map that leads us to the truth, to happiness, to fulfillment? Or are we going to try to do it on our own? One way leads to life, the other something else. How was it Robert Frost put it? 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. I took the one less traveled by, and it made all the difference. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Now go in peace to serve God and your neighbor in all that you do. Walk the path, and let God lead you in the path that leads to life. Now, by the grace of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the love of God the Father Almighty, and the fellowship and communion of the Holy Spirit, be with you all now and always.